In a stunning turn of events that has sent ripples throughout South Africa and the international political stage, investigators have officially confirmed the issuance of an international arrest warrant related to the brutal murder of the former minister and ambassador Mthethwa. This development cannot be more critical in that it exposes not only the sophisticated planning behind the assassination but also directly implicates a high-ranking political figure, a name considered untouchable until recently. This revelation has sent shock waves through political, diplomatic and public circles alike, raising urgent questions of corruption, state protection, and the limits of accountability for those in positions of power. It has raised widespread debate about the integrity of South Africa's ruling elite and the extent to which political influence can protect people from justice. According to sources close to the Paris-based investigation team, fresh forensic and financial evidence uncovered by European intelligence units has revealed the mastermind behind the assassination, a senior political figure with deep connections to the South African government and extensive international business networks who had been under suspicion for months. Though authorities have long speculated as to who could have orchestrated the killing of one of the country's most influential diplomats, the recent findings reportedly provide the final link needed to confirm the involvement of their suspect. The French police, working in cooperation with Interpol and South Africa's Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation and the Hawks, tracked a series of encrypted financial transactions through offshore accounts in Dubai, Seychelles and Mauritius, laying bare a complex network intended to mask the identity of the true murderer. These financial flows were reportedly linked to a shadowy security company that provided logistical support to the hit squad behind the assassination outside a Paris hotel earlier this year. Investigators established that the company acted as a front, effectively masking the identity of the senior political figure who funded the operation. Late on Monday night, Interpol issued an official red notice demanding the immediate arrest of the suspect, described as a high-ranking government official with possible immunity privileges. Such a notice is rarely issued, especially when it involves an individual with significant political power. It underlines the seriousness of the case and shows international agreement that no political influence can stand in the way of the investigation of this case. The news threw the ANC in Pretoria into a panic immediately. According to sources, the top echelons of the ANC held an emergency meeting in Lachalai House in the middle of the night, just hours after the Interpol red notice went public. The suspect's name has reportedly been making rounds in diplomatic circles, where officials fear mass resignations may take place, followed by cabinet reshuffles and possible parliamentary confrontation, says one senior opposition member speaking on condition of enmity. This is not about Mthethwa anymore. This is about how far corruption and political protection have gone in South Africa. The international warrant means someone powerful is finally being cornered and the truth can no longer be buried. Statements like this reveal that the investigation now extends beyond criminal accountability to power tussles and factional dynamics within the ruling party. Mthethwa's widow, who has been vocal about the slow pace of justice over her husband's death, briefly and emotionally addressed the media. "My husband was loyal to his country. He died trying to expose something dark, something bigger than all of us. Now at last the world will know the truth." She then burst into tears. Her words have revived public outrage as protesters flocked outside Parliament to demand transparency and the immediate arrest of all those implicated, whatever their political rank. Civil society organizations have amplified these demands, cautioning that inaction would ultimately undermine public confidence in the government's resolve for justice and accountability. The growing public mobilization indicates that citizens are no longer willing to accept secrecy or political shielding in cases involving high-level corruption and violence. Diplomatic sources have confirmed that various foreign embassies in Pretoria have officially received briefings from Interpol and the French Ministry of Justice. The fallout could be huge should the investigation bear results, as the revelations might prompt international sanctions or travel bans against implicated South African officials if nothing is done to get to the bottom of the issue. French authorities promised to take the matter to its logical conclusion, saying, "No political power or influence can stand in their way." One French prosecutor framed the case in terms of its international importance. "This is not a local matter. This is an international conspiracy that will be dismantled piece by piece. The statement reveals both the complexity of the investigation and the high stake involved with global attention on political and legal processes in South Africa. With the international arrest warrant in place, speculation is rife about when and how the suspect might be brought into custody. Reports indicate that diplomatic negotiations have already begun, complicated by the suspect's dual citizenship and potential protection from various state mechanisms. Legal experts have warned that any move by South African officials to intercede on behalf of the suspect may be seen as interfering with justice and could further escalate diplomatic tensions, serving only to continue damaging the nation's international reputation. The case has moved from a purely domestic criminal matter to a geopolitical one with significant ramifications regarding how South Africa will be perceived in the world and its government institutions. Analysts anticipate that this investigation could be one of the most explosive corruption and criminal scandals to have hit South Africa in recent years. With the possible implication of a senior political figure, it may injure several high-ranking officials, shake the structures of the governing party, and spur widespread leadership changes. The scandal also brings under the spotlight issues of oversight, accountability, and the adequacy of South Africa's legal institutions to hold elite-level figures accountable. This draws into sharp focus the dilemmas in attempting to deal with crimes that are essentially politically motivated and inextricably linked to financial networks and organized violence, showing just how domestic governance structures fall short when the action concerns international dimensions. There are growing concerns within the ANC that the case might further polarize factional divides in the run-up to forthcoming elections. Several senior party members are reportedly worried that systemic perceptions of corruption would dent the confidence that previously had been held up by the electorate, particularly younger and more urbanized segments of voters who demand openness and accountability. Opposition parties have seized the moment, framing the arrest warrant as evidence of the ruling party's failures and calling for comprehensive investigations into the wider political and financial networks implicated. This development has intensified scrutiny of governance practices and ethical standards within South Africa's leadership circles. The case is a confluence of high-profile assassination, financial crime, and political intrigue for the international community. Intelligence officials from a number of countries are reportedly coordinating closely with Interpol to ensure the suspect cannot exploit political connections to evade justice. It is also a situation that clearly shows the increasing need for global cooperation in addressing crimes that transcend national borders, particularly those involving suspects with considerable political influence and access to complex financial networks. At the core of this scandal is the human cost. Mthethwa was a diplomat of great repute, a devoted public servant, and deeply dedicated to the cause of his nation. His murder robbed the Republic of South Africa of a gifted leader, placed in perspective those who would go all the way to conceal their deals, and inflicted untold emotional damage on family, associates, and the citizenry. The widow's cry for justice has evolved into a rallying point for collective demands for transparency and the equal application of the rule of law, irrespective of one's status or relationship. As the investigation unfolds, legal, political, and diplomatic maneuvering can be expected to escalate. South African authorities will have to balance domestic political considerations with international legal obligations and conditions of global media scrutiny. The result is bound to impact perceptions about South Africa's commitment to governance, transparency, and ethical leadership. This is a tightrope balancing act that will have repercussions for the ruling party, the political establishment, and by extension the country's general reputation as a stable and law-abiding member of the international community. The case is already shaping national discourse on corruption, political accountability, and the limits of power. Citizens are calling for protection of whistleblowers, comprehensive transparency in government dealings, and a resolute pursuit of justice. Experts predict that if managed decisively, the scandal could set a legal and political precedent for how South Africa and the international community approach politically motivated crimes that include financial misconduct and organized violence. Speculation continues over the arrest of the suspect and the direction of any subsequent trial. Questions remain over how far other political figures may be involved, the extent of the financial networks concerned, and the level of institutional protection which allowed these crimes to take place. Public pressure, media scrutiny, and diplomatic engagement continue to increase, making an environment where inaction is less and less feasible. The shadow looming over Nim's murder has finally begun to lift. For the first time since his death, the possibility of justice now seems tangible rather than distant. The international arrest warrant sends notice that even the most powerful may be brought to account. With investigations ongoing, both South African and international communities are watching with great interest to see if long-standing webs of political and financial influence will finally see daylight. This case has already reshaped the political landscape, and the reverberations are likely to be felt in years to come, influencing governance, accountability, and what the limits of power are within and beyond South Africa's shores.